Welcome to Movies That Matter, the podcast about recent films going above and beyond the call of box office returns to boldly explore a social issue affecting people's lives. I'm Nicole Finari.
I'm Stacy Moore.
And with us today is...
Garrett Eberhardt.
Garrett, why don't you tell us what movie we're going to overanalyze this week?
So this week's movie is Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Which is the titular billboards were put up by Mildred Hayes, played by Frances McDormand. She puts them up along a sleepy country road after her daughter's murder case goes cold with no arrests. Billboards implicate police chief Willoughby, played by Woody Harrelson, who was battling cancer while dutifully mentoring his second-in-command, Sam Rockwell's Officer Dixon, a cop with a habit of brutalizing local citizens of color. And honestly, I don't know where to start, guys. I don't know where to start. I'm
going to start with the all-time best film critics ever. Hated it. Oh my god, I hated this movie so much. And I feel like you guys are going to disagree with me, but I hated this movie. I hated it.
Please, you guest, tell us.
Okay, so we're all familiar with the concept of the Great American Novel, right?
Specifically in what regard?
Well, so a Great American Novel is a great novel that really encapsulates the culture and feeling of a specific era in America, and I felt like that's what this movie was in a cinematic context. Like, it really captured everything that's going on in American society right now, whether it's sexism, police brutality, problems with sexual assault, both the deed and them being investigated, racism, all those things put into the movie, and it really flowed and was interwoven all together very well. So I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It was about everything. It was about everything.
Yeah.
It was about too many things.
That could be its like greatest strength and its worst weakness. Like, it's just, every 90 seconds normally when we watch these movies, I'm kind of like, I've got my antenna up, as you've mentioned, like, kind of like, oh, okay, that's going to be something we discuss. Something like that popped up every 90 seconds in this movie. To, like, about, halfway through, I just kind of threw up my hands and went, I don't even, okay. Like, it was almost like I had to turn down my movies that matter. I had to calibrate back my dial just because I was like, if I think about everything that's being just explored in this movie,
Sensory overload.
Yes.
Yeah. Overload.
Okay. I will say, I loved the cinematography. I thought it was extremely beautiful, and the editing was pretty good too. We will go on the performances. Were all great. But I will admit, I didn't like In Bruges. Everybody was like, "Oh, In Bruges, it's so great, it's so great." And I was
including me, I'm a huge fan.
I didn't like it, and I didn't like this one because part of it was like, for a movie that ostensibly has a woman at the center, there's some really big dude fails in this movie, which I couldn't overlook. Number one, so you have a whole plot line like, oh, look at this sleazy guy who ends up with a 19-year-old girlfriend. Oh, yeah? You know how old Woody Harrelson's wife is? That actress is 35. He's 56. Why did he have to have such a young wife in this movie? Why? He left a letter for everybody in town except his daughters. Like, he leaves a letter for Mildred, and he, like, the whole...
Well, I guess we don't know that. We just don't hear that. We don't see the letter read.
He says there's another letter for you in the drawer. There's a letter for you and the girls, and then he's like, kiss the girls for me. And then they're outing that they show them abandoning his own daughter so that he can go sleep with his wife. And I'm like,
that was weird.
Wow, father of the year.
But next to like a body of water.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, hey, 3 and 5-year-old, don't leave this little patch and don't wade into the water that could sweep you away. And he's not going to be father of the year.
But just in defense of that part, is that a little bit of a peek into how small town America still operates? That innocence where you let your kids have a little more leeway and you're a little more trusting of your environment. We are speaking as East Coasters.
That's a good point. Like growing up, I remember, like growing up in Georgia, I remember, so, some families just, they would let their kids just kind of roam next to train tracks and whatnot. I mean, that's possible.
It wasn't that. It was that they kind of show him like tucking his kids into bed, but like they make a big point and the letter is like, "You're my wife. I love you. I'm going to miss you so much." And it was like, do you not even care about your kids? Like there was just such an emphasis on the wife to the exclusion of the kids. And the one scene you see him with his kids, he's like abandoning them in favor of his wife. I just was like, this is awkward. Why even have these little girls in here? Like you're just making it worse. Like you're not making him more sympathetic. And then I just felt like, I know Quentin Tarantino has been accused of this, but I'm like, it just seemed like this was an excuse to let people use the N-word or retard or faggot as much as possible. It was like, I get it that they're bigoted, but like, it was overkill to me. It just seemed like an excuse to have them say it as many offensive things as possible, and that really bothered me. I didn't feel like it was necessary.
Part of why I called this movie like the cinematic version of a modern great American novel is because I felt it was realistic. So just keeping in mind the characters that we were following and the locale we were in, it didn't bother me that much because there wasn't that Tarantino overkill where, you see something like Hateful Eight and you're like, after the 20th time, like, okay, that wasn't necessary. But the context in which some of these words were said, it didn't bother me as much. Now, I know that's subjective, though, so everybody has their own threshold. But
although I would say it does sound like the problems you're having with the film are more that you just don't like the people in it.
True. I mean, I could not believe we're supposed to see Woody Harrelson as a sympathetic character when it is clear that he knows of the flagrant abuses and police brutality of Sam Rockwell's character, Dixon, and has chosen to turn a complete blind eye to that. And I'm just like, you're a terrible person and you should be fired as chief. Sure. And nothing you do at any moment is going to redeem the fact that you kept this person on staff.
They literally had to give the man cancer to make him sympathetic.
Right. It didn't work. I was super glad when he, spoiler alert, blew out his brains. Which was, to me, unnecessarily graphic, but yeah.
I thought it was very considerate and put a bag and a note on his head.
Yeah.
Although he didn't think of the fact that the note would be soaked through. I'm sorry, that was very graphic. Anyway, not the point. I do see what you're saying. Absolutely. There were a lot of unlikable characters in it, and there were a lot of them we are meant to kind of come around on. And I wasn't always able to do that. Even though I kind of wanted to, like go along with the ride of the movie, like to go on these character arcs with these people. And at the same time, I was like, gosh, 17 minutes ago, you were doing something heinous. I'm really not sure I can, like, just because like you are nice to your mom, I don't know that's enough.
The mom was awesome.
Oh my God. You like the mom you like.
Because she's like unremittingly evil. I'm not supposed to feel sorry for her, like her in any way.
Got
like,
it. Yeah.
Can I just say, though, for real, the absolute star of this film was definitely that pet turtle.
Possibly.
I'm kidding. It was Peter Dinklage.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. He stole every scene. I was like, why does Peter Dinklage have such a small role in this? What happened? Did
no pun intended.
Oh, come on. Oh, good night, everybody.
Yeah. After talking about how offensive this movie was.
Yeah, right.
It felt appropriate.
Nicole. Yeah, I don't know. I kept wondering, like, did his career like slide while I wasn't looking and I don't know and he's on his way out or something? Like, why is he such a...
Or is it the opposite? Is he so busy with Game of Thrones that
he didn't have time to do more than 4 scenes? That's possible. Yeah.
But
he's awesome. He's so good.
Yeah, I think that's a fair critique that his character was more not used just to forward Frances McDormand's story rather than having his own. So I think that's a fair critique.
Mm. I liked that the movie. I never knew what was going to happen in the next scene. I was on my toes. It was not a predictable screenplay I have since watched a movie on Netflix that I will not say because I don't want anyone alive or dead to know that I watched this movie from beginning to end. But I could almost like speak the lines out as the characters were kind of going through their emotions. And it made me appreciate that aspect of this movie where it's like, I genuinely have no idea what's about to happen.
Yeah, I love the tension and suspense in the movie. It was very good. As far as the characters' irredeemability, I felt like that worked for me. This is probably the pessimist in me speaking, but Americans aren't very redeemable right now. And as this being a snapshot of modern day America, it felt real. The brutality of Officer Dixon and the way that his disappointment in himself being a undereducated, underpaid white male in a small southern town, that really felt real. That's something that we talk about a lot. I mean, the New York Times, it seems like they do a profile on that demographic every week. So seeing that on screen, it really resonated for me, and I felt like the movie was very timely, and it was nice seeing that play out there.
But I feel like he was given a redemption arc.
That's
and Woody Harrelson as well, and I'm like, but I can't. So did you not feel that way, or it didn't bother you? Good
segue. I was just about to say that's okay. Where the movie started to lose me a little bit towards the end, where his redemption felt so sudden. Like, I liked what it seemed like they were going for, in my interpretation, was how a lot of people feel lonely and underappreciated in this era, and that's playing with our culture and how people interact with each other and how people behave. Seeing that played out through Dixon, where he got Woody Harrelson's character's note saying, "Hey, I think you can be a good cop if you just treat people better and you're a better person. I think it'll improve your police skills," and how that sat with him and how he sort of did a 180. I saw where they were going with that message, but it did feel a little rushed and a little undeserved. Like, hey, this guy just threw somebody out of a window 20 minutes ago, and then now he reads this letter and he's like a changed person. So that felt a little rushed and unearned. I agree with you there, and that's where I started to be like, where's this going?
Not to mention, am I wrong in thinking that, or remembering that the scene before the fire scene, the Sarge was like, slip out the back door of the police station, like leave the keys, go out the back door. And I was like, he didn't need to jump through a wall of fire. Like, they literally told us in the last scene there was a back door to this police station. Like, I was just like, maybe I misheard it or I'm misremembering it, but I'm pretty good with like that watching all the murder mystery sensibilities. I was like, I remember that there was a back door to this house. Like,
it's been a month and a half since I saw it, and I do remember the backdoor comment, but I thought they showed something that happened with the back door and the fire. I can't remember.
I don't know.
It looked like he was surrounded by.
Yeah. Okay. I can.
But I mean, that was like the most effective, like little flaming bottle. I think. I guess she said like 3 or 4 in there. Yeah. So that could have been. She could have been surrounded by flames. Who knows? But, yeah.
One other like sort of random comment, because I think the meat is in the characters. Okay. So one other nitpick before we keep delving into the characterizations. Was anyone else bothered by the soundtrack?
Are we talking soundtrack or score?
Soundtrack, because it was like there was opera music in the beginning, which was fine. There's some country music. There was some other foreign language thing he's listening on to his headphones, and I was like, "What song is this? And where did he get it?" Like, I found the songs that were playing in the movie to be just tonally inconsistent with what was happening on screen, and to the point where I just was like, "What song is this? Like, why are you playing this song?" Like, it was jarring, and I can't think of another movie where I'm like, that was a real mismatch.
It didn't take me out, but I don't remember the score, the soundtrack that much, which is another bad sign on the other side. I do have a question. Do you think the fact that you were not enjoying yourself overall made you notice the soundtrack more? Like, if it was the better movie and you were more satisfied, do you think you would have still noticed the soundtrack?
Yeah, I think I would have, but it's possible. it's true that when I'm not sort of emotionally invested in something, it's real easy to start paying attention to stuff like, hey, they said there was a back door. Why didn't he go out the back door?
Yeah, that's why I asked, like, when someone gets on your nerves, like, even the way they walk, you're like, oh, why do they walk that way? Yeah. So I just was wondering if that was the case here.
So what did we think about Mildred? And then we can talk about what we thought about Frances McDormand, in whatever order you so choose.
I liked the character. She showed vulnerability at times and strength, and but it also showed that she had problems of her own, particularly through how she treated Peter Dinklage. And it showed how hurt people, and the way she treated him, and took out all her frustrations on him, and it showed that she wasn't necessarily everything that she needed to be, despite the fact that she was going on this crusade against the town. So I thought it was very balanced and showed a lot of different aspects of not only her personality, but I think of the personality of a lot of people out there.
I did like how complicated she was. I liked that you could sort of see that she was overcompensating in this tribute to her daughter for the fact that, or at least her perceived fact that she didn't have a great relationship with her daughter. Like they hadn't actually gotten along. They didn't actually kind of disliked each other. And so she felt like she had to go even further afterwards to make up for like whatever shortcomings she felt she'd had as a mother. I thought she was well developed because there's a point towards the end where she picks a wine bottle up off a table. Mm-hmm. And like at least you think she's about to slam that bottle over someone's head. Mm-hmm. Like we do get to know her, and she is consistent. And then when she actually doesn't, bludgeon someone to death with the bottle, it's actually a sign that she's growing.
That's true.
So yeah, I guess I liked her.
Okay. Yeah, I found. Well, again, she's not wholesale supposed to be likable, right? She's going through a very dysfunctional grieving process, and yeah, she does fight with her daughter, and she does feel guilty, but then she just takes that guilt to try to blame somebody else, right? Whereas I looked this up because I had a discussion with a friend about it. Like, a third of all homicides go unsolved in this country. A lot of it is related to gang violence, though, and people not willing to snitch, but still. I mean, I will say, I took Woody Harrelson at his word when he said, the DNA didn't match anybody, there's no other evidence, what do you want me to do? It's like
that was convincing.
Yeah, and it was like there were no witnesses. I have 0 leads. So I definitely felt like she was really angry, and she just wanted to catch the killer so she would have somebody to blame that wasn't herself, right? Through no just blindness to that was what she was doing. I did absolutely love her scene with the deer. So to recap, for those who haven't seen, she's planting flowers near where her daughter died, and this deer shows up and just sits with her. And she has this moment where she's like, I know you're not the reincarnation of my daughter, but I'm still going to let out some emotion and express some of my sadness to you. And I thought that was one of the few scenes I really liked and really humanized her well.
Yeah, agreed. That was a nice moment.
And I will say, regardless of how I felt about any of the ways these characters were written, they were portrayed flawlessly. I can't fault anybody's performance in this movie.
Anytime something that could have been corny was happening, or that could have been just sincere and dramatic, it would be undercut by like this weird dark humor. Like even him listening, he was listening to his headphones and reading the letter from his late, mentor. And the police station is burning down around him, and it's kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes, that was
definitely done.
So, okay, so full disclosure, this movie was set in Missouri, right?
Yes.
There is a Missouri and there is a Missouri, and this was set in Missouri.
Yes,
that's right. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about own voices and, like getting the cultural place right. Well, I'm certainly not an expert on any small town in Missouri. Like,
I've never been.
I felt like this movie, you said it to start with, Garrett, like this felt very authentic to me.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a look into small town America. Very well done, and one of the highlights and definite strengths of the movie.
It was hard for me to say. I was kind of trying to decide. I felt that way about the movie constantly, the whole time, and days after, like even now, I'm not sure where I land on this movie. I can't decide if I like it or not. I can't decide if it's excellent. Let me
go another 20 minutes and talk you
They just push me off the fence. But yeah, no, everything about it, I would just kind of be going, I just don't know.
Okay.
Oh, wow. It sounds like you're talking about Mother.
Oh, didn't see it.
Yeah, I intentionally stayed away from Mother.
Yeah. I knew I wouldn't like it. Yeah, I guess to me, and again, art direction had a big role to play. Like, everybody's houses looked right. Like, nobody was super poor, right? They all kind of had pretty nice houses, but the decorations, the decor was a little bit old, a little outdated. I don't know. I just felt like
her haircut was spot on.
Yeah,
that buzz up the back of the neck.
Yeah. Everybody and the thing about Frances McDormand, which just makes her amazing, is she looks like a real person and not like a celebrity.
Yeah, that's true.
And to just maximal effect. And she looked, she can do a lot with her face. And I think that also her aging naturally really works in these kinds of roles where she's supposed to portray a woman who has had a lot of life happen to her. Right?
She's weathered.
Yeah. She's not supposed to look, which were, again, the wife of Woody Harrelson, plus her accent. I was like, what is she doing in this movie? Like, her performance.
It took me like 5 scenes to place her accent. I went, wait, where's she from? I couldn't even tell.
Meanwhile, the kid who was in Get Out and was the advertising, I'm like, oh, look, his American accent's getting better.
Caleb Landry Jones had a really good year. He was great in this as well.
What was he in the first scene?
He was Red, Billboard.
The guy who gets thrown out the window.
No. Where was he in Get Out?
He was the brother.
Oh, the newspaper guy. Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So, and he didn't quite have his American accent under control.
No, he didn't.
At that point.
No, he didn't. Wasn't.
Okay, so.
Although born in Texas, apparently. So,
yeah, I mean, like, one of the reasons I wanted to pick this, I figured it would get a lot of Oscar buzz off of the performances, and they're well-deserved. Sam Rockwell is a really versatile actor. But I just, like, didn't like any of the people that they were playing.
Yeah, that's tough. When there's I find that to be an issue in a lot of things for me. When there's no one for me to sort of latch onto, it's hard to keep going with the movie. Although, I mean, I quite liked Mildred.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't like her?
No. She was a terrible person.
She was interesting.
Those billboards were stupid.
She was feisty.
Okay, so, I mean, I have been in almost the exact same position she's been in. So that made me probably tougher on her character than anyone has a right to be. But sooner or later, when my sister disappeared, the cops came to me and they were like, we have to stop searching. We're quitting. We have no more leads. We have no witnesses. We have literally nothing to go on. There is no next move for us.
You burned down their station then, right?
Obviously. Flew back to Tasmania.
Okay.
And I was like, you've done plenty. Like, you've done a lot. And they really had, compared to how she felt that they hadn't done anything. But I was like, I wish that I had an answer, and I certainly prefer having closure, but I just didn't have that response of like, never give up. I'm like, no, give up. Like, you've done your job. Right. This is reasonable to expect. And now unless they were like, if something happens, I'm like, I'm cool. Like, I'm good. I'm not angry. Quit. Like, I can't even imagine how much money this whole search costs to find one person. Like, I'm fine. I'm okay. And so I couldn't really relate to her wanting to push the cops.
I felt to me like she was a lot like the folks on Murder on the Orient Express, you know? Just not dealing with their grief.
Right.
Just transferring it into
unhealthy ways.
Yeah.
I had a general film question. So you guys said that you didn't like these characters. Is it worse with a film to not like the characters or not care about the characters? Like there have been films where you don't like the characters, but you care about what happens to them because you hate them. So like what happened here and which is worse, do you think, as a film viewer, just in general? Because like my most hated film character is Waingro from Heat. I hate that guy with the fire of 1,000 suns. But that's what makes him great. Like when he finally got shot in the movie, you're like, yes. So like for me, it's more about what's bad for me is when you don't care about characters at all. Like I don't hate you or love you. Like you're just there. So what was it here?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly on that. As long as I find someone interesting, I'm perfectly happy to keep watching. It's when I find them boring and I'm like, I don't want to know what you're thinking and I don't want to know where you're going. And that's when I check out.
I think for me, it's when I hate them, but I'm being telegraphed to like them. Mm-hmm. That's where I get, because I just get frustrated because the person is being given, again, very sympathetic treatment by the director. And I'm like, this person's a terrible person. Like, they're not redeemed. Like, they're not a good person. Stop trying to sell me on the fact that they're attractive or they're romantic or they're, Twilight. I was like, what the? He sent her to her room and watched her sleep. Call the police. That's crazy creepy. Like, you cannot sell me. You cannot sell me on this romance.
Not on.
Not okay. Not okay. So I that's what it is for me. It's like, again, this very moving letter from Woody Harrelson about, what a good-hearted person he was. And I was like, every single piece of evidence you have is that there's no good in this guy. Like, there's no reason to believe that that's true. Why? And so that's where I think for me, I'm for villains. I'm with you. I'm a love to hate or see them get their, comeuppance at the end. Mm-hmm. Sure.
I was surprised. This may be the first movie I've ever seen featuring a purely evil veteran. Like, I mean, fresh back from Iraq.
Oh.
Just scum of the earth. And that's something you don't normally see in any film, let alone a film about a red state.
It's true.
Let's go down that hole, actually, because there's a lot of, themes and things we need to talk about.
We have a lot to cover.
What did we make of the thought we solved it but didn't, and the character that guy coming in to threaten her in her gift store and act like he did kill her daughter? What were you supposed to take away from that? Stacy's making a face. Throwing up her hands, making a face.
I got nothing. What do you think?
I like that it didn't all come together in a neat bow. That would have made Dixon's character arc, to go to your point, Nicole, even worse, where they made him too redeemable, where, if he did this 180 and it dovetailed directly into what Woody Harrelson said about being observant, and then he caught the guy and, ticker tape parade and fireworks. Like, it was more realistic. We're like, no, that wasn't him. We still have no clue.
He didn't get that payoff.
Yeah, he didn't get the payoff, and neither did Mildred, and then they just turned to each other for solace when they decided to do what they were going to do at the end, which, sort of dovetailed with the loneliness aspect that I mentioned earlier, where they were finally just happy to have someone that shared their grief and their disappointment with the world, and they found solace in each other. So I like that, how it turned out.
Yeah, I did like I don't want to get out of order, but I did like the end. But when, despite their best efforts to be self-destructive, they finally just realized they needed a road trip. We just need to hit the road. and clear our heads. I thought it was really nice.
And maybe we'll kill him, maybe we won't. I don't know.
Like, we'll decide on the way. That's a great line. We'll decide on the way.
Which they jinxed each other. I liked that moment, too. Yeah. Yeah, that's... Yeah. I was sort of relieved when that it wasn't all tied up in a neat bow that way, and I wasn't expecting it, like you said, Stacy. It was unpredictable. So yeah, let's see. Vets get poor treatment.
Well, one note on that sort of section is I'm glad that it didn't pay off for Dixon to violently assault someone and scrape their DNA off their face without a warrant. I really didn't want that to pay off.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing. That's where she lost me in the beginning of the movie, where she was like, we should have every single man blood tested so that his DNA is on record, just so I can find my daughter's killer. And
Willoughby's like, that's unconstitutional.
Yeah. I'm like I'm a big First Amendment, and is it fourth unreasonable search and seizure? Yes. Like, I'm not happy with certain Supreme Court justices who like to give more power to the police. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we agreed with the movie on that. Well, but it just made her really unlikable. I'm like, because your daughter was killed, like, you now want to take away rights from every man in America? Like, again, sort of set me off on the wrong foot with her.
But realistic, though, that's how a lot of people are.
That's true. Like, I can't think of a single mom that, like, wouldn't want to change the laws.
Especially if something happened to their daughter. Like,
sure, stomp on the Constitution, whatever. Right. Yeah.
Is that really what this is about? Is that really what it comes down to, do you think, for people that... I mean, all evidence to support this theory that people just really make emotional decisions and cannot take a step back from their lives or their own experience to see the sort of rational case?
Maybe.
Again, pessimistic Garrett, yes. I would say Patriot Act.
Patriot. Oh, I'm thinking more on the micro level of just the actions in the movie. Yeah, that Dixon, decides, like, I'm sad. So instead of just, feeling sad, maybe writing in his journal, he walks right across the street and just picks, like, that effeminate guy he can't stand and just throws him out a window. Mm-hmm. He punches a woman in the face on his way out.
Oh, yeah. That part's awesome.
That was hard to watch.
That was really hard to watch. That whole scene was really hard to watch.
Yeah, it was infuriating. One of the more infuriating scenes of the year.
Ooh. But it made it all the more satisfying when the new police chief came in.
Oh, and it was Lester Freeman. I was like, Freeman!
Yes, love that guy.
Oh, he's getting a little typecast, but I'm still always glad to see him when he shows up. So, okay. Again. So we have violence against women, violence against people who sell billboards, with getting thrown out of the window. We have a little bit of war violence in here. There's a lot of different portrayals of anger, and I'm really interested, Garrett. I think you're right, and it didn't occur to me until you said it that, like, the anger is a reaction to, or the violence and the anger is a reaction to the loneliness that each of these characters feels.
Yeah, like, that's why we spend so much time with Dixon and his mother, because we get to see, just to put it plainly, what a loser he is. And, he can't become the cop that he wants to be. He's living with his mother and Dixon's in his 30s. He has no girlfriend. And so this dissatisfaction with life causes him to lash out through his job where, that's the one place where he does have power. He's a deputy in a small town and he can run roughshod. And, that's something that we see and read about in the news every day. That's, I've mentioned earlier with all the profiles of the Trump voters in the New York Times, and everybody wants to know what's going through their mind. Like, Dixon is exactly
everybody loves the Nazi New York Times.
Right, exactly. Dixon is like just the perfect personification of that and what's going on right now.
Yeah, it could be that making movies about Southern cops is the new Holocaust film. You know?
Yeah.
We just delve into the minds of, like, what makes them tick.
Right.
Get an Oscar, get a Golden Globe, portray an evil cop. Who knows? Maybe that'll be it for the next 10 years.
God, I hope not. I don't want to explore any more of this. And sooner or later, someone's going to catch on to how anti the police I am and come and get me. But
you're probably on the list already.
I'm sure I am. So I was like circling it all together back to Stacy. It's like, and what is the ultimate cure for loneliness? Buddy road trip.
Yes.
Oh yes. Plan a vacation. Go on a vision quest. That is always my answer to everything.
Maybe kill someone. Maybe death.
Yeah, right. Just chat about it along the way. Stop at Cracker Barrel. You know.
Yeah, I read a article. I can't remember the source. Stacy and Nicole are Facebook friends with me, so they know I post a lot of articles. But there was an article that talked about how humans are social animals, and that's something that we've lost in modern times. We just don't socialize as far as like friendship. Not even like just going out to a bar, but the loneliness of not having someone that you can just text or call and say, hey, what's up? Can we hang out? I think the crux of the article was talking about men specifically.
Yeah, men don't have friends.
Yeah, men don't have friends. And it was right after one of the many mass shootings. I can't remember which one. We have one every week. But it was talking about how men are just lonely and they lash out. I think it was after Vegas, where, you know, they don't have anyone to talk to. They keep all their feelings inside. And if they're single, they're completely alone. And this loneliness is really affecting people. And that's one of the ways that it manifests. So you saw that in that movie here.
Yeah, I suppose it's worthwhile to explore the motivations of, you know, we do have all these mass shootings, and we've had them pretty frequently for a while now, and the vast majority of them are white dudes, and I think it's worthwhile to kind of just say, hey buddy, what's going on? Like, how are things? What made you do this? Like, and find a common thread. And I think that's a very intriguing sort of theory and explanation of, like, these guys are just miserable and isolated.
They're definitely unhappy. Lonely is a new one for me. I'll have to think about that some more. I guess I remember reading that article and thinking, this is so far away from my reality. Like, I mean, we're urban people. We have loads of friends, active social lives. Like, I'm just like, I have plenty of friends. Like, but I'm also female, and I think that does make a difference.
Huge difference.
Tell me why. No,
men just socialize differently. Like, I don't...
Walk us through it, Garrett. What's like a...
Give us a map. Because I said this a long time ago on a podcast. The only thing that ever made me understand male relationships was the movie Sideways.
You're right. Yeah. So it's Thursday night. If you weren't here recording with us, like, how would your evening have played out?
I've gone to the gym for a half hour, 45 minutes.
Do you make friends at the gym? Do people talk to other people at the gym? I don't go to the gym, guys. That's why we're on radio.
So disclaimer, I go to a CrossFit gym, and we do, that part is true, we do all socialize with each other.
Okay.
Nice. But only at the gym. Do you, like,
well, no,
get together with these guys?
No, I have a good male friend from the CrossFit gym, but, like, we don't, and just goes for my male friends in general, the ones that I'm not related to. Like, I don't text my male friend and say, hey, how's it going? You know, how's your life? What's going on? Like, how are the kids? Like, we don't do that. I feel like that's more common with women. But, you know, when you speak to your guy friends in general, I think that's been my experiences. We're, like, making plans to go do something, or, you know, making plans to go out or something like that. Like, you just don't sit on the phone for like a half hour and just talk to your male friends. That's something I do more with my female friends.
So I was just going to follow up with that. So you relate as the same person, you relate to your male and female friends differently than you're saying.
Yeah.
Because we can only know what male friends are like to us.
Right. That's very true.
Yeah, so like a sort of a check-in call or check-in text back and forth. I do that more with my female friends.
Okay.
And, have those long, drawn-out conversations with them. But that's just not how men socialize. And I think that's, part of the culture and how we've been taught how to deal with emotions and interconnectedness and stuff like that with men,
So Dixon needs a book club.
But he needs Mildred. He needs a female friend specifically, right? Because this is what I'm thinking too, is that a lot of these guys, these mass shooters, have a history of violence, and specifically violence against women, right? It was the guy who had a domestic violence charge. He never should have been given a gun in the first place. And so maybe if I can draw a totally false correlation, solve all the world's problems right now.
Let's do it.
So if they were the type of guys to have female friends, then they would be the type of guys who saw women as people too, right? Like not just sex objects. So maybe that's correlated between the internalized sort of sexism then is more isolating because you can't have that close connection, because you can't have it with men, apparently, which should be solved in and of itself. Close male friendships are important. But they also can't have close female friendships as their sort of emotional outlet.
Yeah. That's a very good point, that just viewing women in sexual terms sort of cuts that off. So, yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
This is not where I thought this conversation would go.
No, but it's so interesting.
See, this is why I said it's the great American novel.
It is. I'm coming around.
Wait, so I want to ask the two of you a question. I asked a group of friends of mine in grad school this question after I read that horrible book that sort of launched hookup culture criticism. In your childhood, and then say through your schooling, like college, did you have co-ed friendships, or were mostly you just hung out with all guys, or in Stacey's case, all girls?
I had some guy friends, but a lot of them were gay.
That's fine. Did you know that at the time?
Yeah.
Okay. Did they know that at the time?
In varying, like along the way, they each kind of caught on. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're a bit older. It wasn't for me. Like, it wasn't very common for people to be out in high school,
Absolutely.
or even oftentimes out in college. I mean, I had a friend who was like, "Oh, it's like I came out, I'm gay." I was like, "You were in?" Like,
right?
We had never talked about his romantic life. I just
assumed. Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Not close female friendships in grade school, so K through 12.
Okay.
You were friendly with girls, but not like close friendships. That didn't start till college.
Okay, but it did change in college. Because one of the things in reading this book about hookup culture is that one of the ways that it functions to do this was that the guys go out and the girls go out separately. And I remember reading this book, like, this couldn't be farther from my college experience. And so I remember, I sort of asked people, and so having taken this sort of informal poll, most people really they were like, no, I've got my group of guys from high school. I got my group of girls from college. They really didn't hang out in co-ed groups, which I found surprising. Okay, so this took an interesting turn.
Yeah. Well, do we want to bring it back around? Like, let's
go for it.
What's the takeaway? What are we supposed to walk away from this movie thinking to ourselves?
Or what did you walk away with, if we can't answer that larger question?
Well, I told you mine was, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel more? I feel more solid about it after discussing it with the two of you, though.
I reckon it could all be boiled down to Chief Willoughby's letter to Dixon. The only way to be a good detective, you need love, right? You need love.
Oh, and anger begets anger.
Right, anger begets anger, and when you have love, it begets calm, and calm begets thought to be observant and solve crimes. But then, also to just kind of get through your life without destroying yourself and others.
Yeah, I was thinking about that after you asked the question. I couldn't think. I guess that is the point. Everybody Need Somebody. Thing that stuck with me at the ending when they went off into the sunset on the road trip.
Yeah. I'm still in the like, this movie was a mess. What point was the train? So yeah, I think that's, again, it undercut its message in a lot of really problematic ways to me that I'm not sure Martin McDonagh entirely knew what the message of the movie was, which is weird because he's a playwright, so you think he probably wrote it pretty carefully, like, but yeah. Well, social impact score?
Social effect score. Well, it's Oscar bait. It's gonna come up at the Oscars, which means it'll probably get a second run. It is playing at my little, like, out in the middle of nowhere theater. It's playing. So maybe a 3 if someone sort of thinks about, like, wait, do I make decisions because I'm just angry and lashing out? Like, I don't know. Don't talk to strangers.
Okay.
Or you'll get shoved in a car and burned to death. Like, I don't know. Something.
Don't wish your kid to be raped because then it will happen.
It could happen, like, that day. Yeah, good one.
Yeah, I'm going to say 3. It's a Oscar bait movie. It'll get some eyes once, McDormand and Rockwell get nominated, and it gets nominated for Best Picture, but that's about it.
I mean, I can't give it anything.
So it's a 1. It's a 1.
Yeah, I mean, again, there were really good filmmaking elements to this movie. I just think thematically it was a mess. All right, tell me something good to see then, or listen to.
Well, sadly, no, wait. You're not going to want to see my recommendation.
Oh, no.
It's, so I want to make up for past episodes that I didn't have recommendations by giving 2. One is Godless. I just watched it. It's this Netflix original series. It's it's one season. It's like a standalone season.
It's a mini series.
Nice. Can we call them that?
Can we not?
Mini series. It's a mini series.
It's a teeny mini series.
Yeah, and it's a Western. It's like a dramatic, epic Western. So if you like Westerns, you'll like this. If you don't, give it a miss. But it explores, like, LGBT characters and First Nations characters and, like, people of color in a very thoughtful way. So check it out. The second recommendation, if you haven't seen this, YouTube, John Boyega reacts to Star Wars trailers.
I've seen that.
Have you seen this?
Yes.
I watched it for the first time today. I watched it 5 times. You will just watch it all the way to the end. You will have a smile on your face.
Awesome.
I guarantee it.
Cool.
This is hard. I've got 2 good ones.
Go ahead.
I can do both?
You can do both.
Okay, sure.
Recommend away.
The first will be Lost City of Z.
Oh, no.
Aww.
Recommend away. No.
Veto.
Well, I love Charlie Hunnam in it, but I will move on.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
No, it's, I think it should be given a chance. It's like, almost David Lean-esque.
is.
Nice period piece. I enjoyed it. I thought it was underrated. Second is Life, a sci-fi thriller. That was kind of overlooked. It came out earlier this year as well.
Was that good?
I really liked it. It's a little derivative of past, like, space sci-fi movies, thriller movies, but good cinematography, good performance from Jake Gyllenhaal, and best ending in a movie this year so far.
Woohoo!
Okay.
Great. I'm going to recommend, as promised on Twitter, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Oh my God. Go out and see it.
From the writer and
creator of Gilmore Girls, Amy Sherman Palladino is back. And we hope you enjoyed this episode of Movies That Matter. If you did, please take a second to leave a review on iTunes and recommend it to your friends. Check out our website, moviesthatmatterpodcast.com, for links to things we've discussed. If you want to talk to us, leave a comment on our Facebook page or on Twitter with our tag @MoviesMatterPod. If you want to talk to Garrett or see his stuff,
you can go to letterboxd.com. I have a page there, Mr. G. Christopher.
We are all friends on Twitter. Come and talk to us. And remember, movies matter.
And so do you.
And before I see you next time, it is the holiday season. And all Stacy and I want for Christmas is reviews.
Please. Loads and loads of reviews. They'll give us our wings.
They really do help us grow. So keep that in mind as a stocking stuffer for Stacy and I and all our excellent co-hosts like Garrett. Okay, we will see you next time.